Hello guys, how are you? And welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about Poetry, which is a Python package management tool and also environment management tool at the same time. Poetry is a tool that is not perfect but solves problems that many other tools that came before it failed to do. For people who want to program a very complex and large projects, you will agree with me that Python tooling system has never been perfect or has never come close to many other programming languages such as JavaScript. Using virtual van, for example, it's always very difficult to consistently type a series of commands like Python virtual van bin and then activate, Python virtual van bin and then deactivate. So today's tutorial will be how you can use Poetry to at least relieve yourself of much of the pain that have been going around. First of all, I want to talk about what you will need for you to follow along with this tutorial. One, you will need at least a terminal, a computer with the terminal installed on it. And secondly, you will need Python programming language installed. Just in case you want me to cover how to install Python and how to use the terminal, then you can comment down below in the comment section so that I'll do that in the near future. First of all, I'm using Visual Studio Code, so you can install Visual Studio Code just in case you want to follow along one-to-one, but any other text editor can do just fine. So without further ado, let's just start right into it. So I'm going to open terminal in my Visual Studio Code. You can also use just a native terminal in Windows or Mac, but because I know most of people will be using different computers, so I just want to use a text editor so that everybody follows along smoothly. So, install Poetry. You just do pip install Poetry. I know there is other ways of installing Poetry, for example using curl and maybe Cocoa for people who are using Windows. But for the purposes of being Python native, we are using pip. So I can do pip install Poetry. And then when I press enter, then it will install Poetry. So I did this before the start of this video so that I can save you and myself some time. Also to not make this video too long. So I'm not going to do this because I already did it. So I can just interrupt that. But also you know how to do it at the moment. Then the next thing that I'm going to tell you is how you can create a new project using Poetry. To create a project using Poetry, you can just do Poetry new, and then this my project I'm going to name it Dependency Manager. I'm going to name it Dependency Manager. You can name it whatever you want. That's according to your description and project requirement as well as preference. So, and it doesn't take much time. I already created a project for me here. It's called Dependency Manager. So I can just go into that project, Dependency Manager, and then I want just to see what's inside that project. So we have a README. This is just a normal README file. It's empty for the moment, but mainly you will just be writing anything that you want for the purposes of your project description and what you need to share with people who are using your project or your team. There is an interesting project here called project.tom. This is the file that contains all of your dependencies and their versions. For example, Python here with versions 3.11, Poetico and Poetry mentioned. You don't need to think about this. It's just the base system of the Poetry. And then you have this other project metadata, just the version and description about your project. You can change them at however you like, and also your email address. So for me to install another tool, one of the ways in which you can install other tools is just by writing, for example, the tool name and then the version. For example, if you want to request, you can just request the specific request version that you want. for my case, I can just say request, so that I just tell you how to use this request, and then let's say that it's a request which version, and then you just specify the version. For now, let's say version 2.6.2, request version 2.6.2, and then after specifying that package you want to install alongside this version, you come to the command line and say poetry install, and then it will be just be installing the package, the request package that you just added. It will just check that which package is specified in pyproject.tom, and then after listing all the packages and also inquiring that is this package installed, and if it's not installed, then poetry will install that for you. And the good thing is that it is not just installing it in your entire operating system, it is installing it in an isolated virtual environment that poetry hands under the hood. So you don't need to know how it's installing it or how it's doing it, because it's resolving all the packages and dependency under the hood, and what you have to do is just to wait and see what it does, and it manages all the dependencies for you. And you can just share all your projects, and everyone who is using your project will just be able to use the same versions and the same packages that are available for you at the moment. So if I go to poetry log, this file, you should not change it, but you can just see all the content and directories where your packages live. So, and then there is a test folder here. With the test folder is just like a place where you can just store your tests and everything. And then there is another directory that has the same name, but all of them are in small letters, as my major project or outer project here, and just release manager with just an init file inside there, just like a packaged down there. So that's how just one of the ways in which you can install a package in poetry by editing pyproject.toml file. But there is another way in which you can install projects in poetry using the command line. And to do that, we are going to use what's called poetry add. Poetry add is a command line in poetry that allows you or allows everybody to install specific versions of project without needing to edit pyproject file. So for me to do that, let me just come here and clear the terminal, and then do poetry add. Let me now add python.env, and then I can just wait for it to do that. So as it does that, it will do three things. One of it is that it will install the python.env project to a repository. The next thing that it will do, it will resolve the packages dependencies conflict, and third, it will add it to pyproject.toml file. And now we can see that python.env has been added to python.env, and then the versions have been added to pyproject.toml file. So that's how to do it in that way. Then there is also one thing that I need you to understand is how to upgrade packages. For example, if you have a package that is outdated and then you want to upgrade it using poetry make it easy, especially to upgrade packages that way. Poetry update, I can just come and say poetry update, and when I do that, poetry will take some time first, look at my PyProject file and then figure out which parts of the project to update and which one not to update. Then, to run in an isolated environment, you can just deploy it to run and then name of the command line that you want to run. So put run Python for the moment main.py, and then all of a sudden you find that it's going to run in an isolated environment. That's how to run poetry applications and how to add environments, your dependency and manage dependency using poetry as at Python tooling or Python toolchain. So bye bye for now. Until next time. Cheers.